Cable Night Show, everybody. I'm joined now by the president of George Mason University, Dr. Angel Cabrera. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on. I don't know if you know this, but I've actually been trying to get you on the show for the past 2 years. So to actually have you here now is quite the honor.
Oh, it shouldn't be that difficult, but I'm glad it happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how did you get to Mason? What's like your backstory, and what are the steps that you took to get this position as president?
So the dirty little secret is that I never planned or intended to be a college president, which I guess is the norm in most careers, right? Mm-hmm. You have no idea what's coming. But I always loved education. So even though I probably took a few detours, but I ended up gravitating towards education. Bottom line is I came to the U.S. as a grad student. I went back to Spain. I did some business, but eventually I ended up leading a business school in Spain. Mm-hmm. And then I was recruited by a business school in the U.S. in the early 2000s, and that's what brought me back. And then Mason recruited me in 2012.
And you've been here ever since?
I've been here ever since.
What do you think is the greatest achievement that the university has gotten since you've been here?
There are the visible things and maybe the less visible things. The visible things, obviously, and I'm very proud. We have an amazing faculty and such a dedicated team. I mean, just even we released the latest figures today, but our research expenditures, for example, have increased dramatically, especially over the last 2 years. We're now a Research One university, which was a long-time aspiration. Not only that, we are the youngest Research One university in the country, which is a huge achievement. We are not just the largest public in Virginia, but we're the fastest growing. I mean, we've been adding, which means that more students want to study here, and we've been serving more students, but also improving all the quality indicators. But actually, the question is quite profound, because when I think about what is it that I'm the proudest of, I think is a sense, maybe a renewed sense of pride in our mission. We're a proud to be a Research One university, but at the same time truly committed to access to diversity, to making sure we're a university for the many and not for the few. And that sense of pride in that mission, I think, is perhaps a little bit stronger, and that's hugely important. Because if we're all at least committed to that mission, even if we disagree on a whole host of things, if we agree on the mission, then great things will happen.
Now, you mentioned the visibles. It's funny you should mention that, because Mason is getting a whole makeover right now. I believe the story of the year, besides the food delivery robots, which are a great addition, by the way, love those little guys, is the construction on campus.
Sure.
So it's been called the Core Campus Project. So what's being built, and how will that improve our university as well?
Construction is obviously not new. I saw, I think, a sign when I first arrived, which was sort of tongue-in-cheek. Instead of the innovation is our tradition, it was construction is our tradition. So, and I know it's always a little bit painful, but this is a sign of a university that is growing, that is improving its facilities, building more sophisticated space for classes, labs, research of our faculty and our students. So this is like a big new step in building the infrastructure that we need. Probably the most visible piece of this core campus project is going to be the building that is going to replace Robinson. But there is one very exciting piece, which is the new Roger Wilkins Plaza, which is going to have a memorial to the people who were enslaved at Gunston Hall.
Oh, wow.
So that Roger Wilkins Plaza, in a way, will serve as not only to celebrate our namesake, which of course we're incredibly proud of and his many contributions, but also to help us think about the contradictions in the life of George Mason and all the founding fathers at the time, and to reflect on the progress we have made as a country and what is left to do.
The university did make national headlines a few weeks ago with the decision that was made. Actually, our campus newspaper, Fourth Estate, broke the story. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh was hired to co-teach a class in England. This was obviously met with a lot of controversy. But can you tell us more about the university's decision to hire Justice Kavanaugh?
I am very respectful of the many views that are on about Justice Kavanaugh, and I don't intend or pretend that to change anybody's views. Our schools, our colleges, our departments, they have the autonomy to choose their faculty. Some of those decisions, especially tenure and tenure track decisions, they have to go through additional filters and committees and eventually go up to the provost and to me and to the board of visitors. But when you're recruiting a part-time professor like this, it stays at the level of the faculty. The faculty have that capacity to decide what's in the best interest of the law school. In this case, the law school decided that having a sitting Supreme Court justice teach our students is actually a unique opportunity for them. My decision is not to hire him or not to hire him. My decision is to respect the judgment that the law school faculty have done. They know what's best for the law school. They've decided that this is in the best interest of the students, and I respect that.
What would you say to the students that kind of see this as almost, to put it bluntly, almost a violation of trust when it comes to the efforts being made to prevent sexual assault and just the safety of our campus in general?
It is a top priority, and I think if any student who's been here for a little while I hope is aware of the efforts that we've been putting in place. We have made major improvements, and a good sign that we're making improvements is that the reports of sexual assault are up. Now, some people say, well, if you have more reports, that means we're doing worse. In this case, it's normally the opposite.
It's getting reported more.
It's getting reported more. Exactly. People feel a little safer, or they feel like one of the big issues, as you know, with sexual assault is survivors feel like if I report, I might be victimized again because or people are going to question me or I'm going to pay a price somehow. But we're fully committed. That doesn't change at all. I mean, I have made it very, very clear. I'm personally involved every year with the pledge. I attend the events. It's essential that even from the top level of the university, we send a message. There's no room for sexual violence on our campus. One case of rape or sexual violence is one case too many, and we need to do everything that we can. And listen, the fact that the law school decides to recruit anybody to teach a class in the summer, you may agree, you may disagree with it, and I respect those views, but that has absolutely nothing to do with our commitment to. We have to continue to fight to make sure there are no cases of sexual violence on our campus.
What is just one thing you want all the students here at Mason to take away during their time here?
So that's a great question. And by the way, there's a group of faculty that are working on a project, which I'll mention in a second, which I think might be of great interest to you and to your audience. For many of us, not just students, but faculty as well, Mason is probably the most diverse place we've ever been involved with. What I would love to see is that, in a few years, when you say I went to Mason, that immediately people would think, Cody is able to bridge across differences, to work with people no matter what their background is, because that's what folks at Mason do, and that's what they're excellent at. They're respectful of people who think differently from them, and they're able to engage in a conversation. I want to think that Mason graduates are a little bit different, that they're curious about, wait a second, that person disagrees with me. I want to understand why. I'm not saying I'm going to change my mind. I just want to understand why. I can engage in a dialogue. I would love it if that was sort of the signature that every alum of Mason walked out with.
What was the project you were mentioning too?
Thank you for reminding me. If we agree that that's a desirable goal, wouldn't it be great if every student in Mason one day took a class that deals with diversity, that deals with freedom of speech, that in a way gives us better tools to have difficult conversations? So a group of faculty are trying to design a class that will do that.
I think that's a good idea. Being a comm major, one of the classes I had to take was intercultural communication. That was a very valuable class to see like the different perspectives of the world, and even just the people in the class. They offered so many different viewpoints on the different issues we talked about and the different theories and stuff. So a class like that for everybody to take, I think, is a absolutely great idea. Thank you for joining me for the interview. Do you want to stick around a little bit longer and play a game?
I would love to.
All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to play the newly close game.